We have created a world that is evolving faster than we can grasp. It's getting together, we call it globalizing, but actually it's moving behind or beyond the traditional community areas, frameworks. People who lived in a given community, they had the mindset, they had the values, they had the vision, they perceived each other, they felt that they belong, and the rest of the world was somehow outside of it. And now the world is moving from these traditional levels into more and more interconnection, into wider and wider spheres, and people's thinking has not caught up. We have created a global world and we have a local mentality. That's the crux of the problem.
Yeah.
You have to take into account that this world is a very, very delicately balanced world, which is on the brink of a series of bifurcations.
Yeah.
So we can act as a butterfly, because in this world is not predictable but influenceable. Now, a small little fluctuation at a critical point can influence the outcome. And that's the idea of a butterfly effect. A butterfly effect means that a tiny little fluctuation of the air, even like created by the wings of a butterfly, can create an air stream, a vortex in the air, which can blow up and change the climate.
Does that also mean that we have the power to change the system?
Yes, we do. Not always. The system has to be in a very critical phase to be changeable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it defends the status quo. Now, this we know as the state is the state of crisis. We call it a crisis. But as we know, as the Chinese know very well, a crisis is both danger and opportunity. Crisis is the point of transformation.
Yeah.
At that point, yes, a butterfly can change the system.
But why then do we often still feel so powerless and frustrated, maybe?
Because the world still seems to be running like a giant system running into its own demise, running its own end, to its own crisis point. It does seem like that. At the same time, look at the mentalities, look at the new pop culture in very many ways, which is much more based on connection, on getting on the same wavelengths. There is something that people are responding to. If you compare this emerging culture with the culture that was emerging 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you see the tremendous difference.
Yeah.
System theory tells you this. Every time you have a systemic change, the change comes from the periphery. I mean, we know that in biology, for example, when there is a whole ecosystem which is no longer, cannot maintain itself anymore, then the mutations do not occur in the center, and they are not evident in the system itself. The mutations occur in the species that are in the periphery. They constantly produce mutations. And these mutations, before they become, the species, before they move to the center, from the viewpoint of the center, they are called hopeful monsters. Because for the current system, they're monsters. It's not normal. But they're hopeful, because it could be that when the system changes, they'll take over. But more and more people start living alternatively. Their example will spread. They'll provide an alternative. Create the alternative.
So just live in a new world already.
Be the new world. Be the change. See. Yes. Yeah. Bring people together to see that it's meaningful. It's fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's a historic task. It's a challenge that you're here to respond to.